Just going to be A through F, and then G, H, and I are in the next video. For most of the quiz, you're not necessarily going to need to write out every single multiplication step. However, we do want to just make sure if you had to evaluate different expressions by hand, we understand how to use the factorial symbol, but also how to incorporate it in problems with division. So let's just go ahead and get started. 4 factorial, gosh darn it, everyone needs to know for the quiz that it's 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And I would imagine, since we've probably done some of the small numbers already a bunch of times, you've already memorized that it's 24. But, right, factorial means you multiply down to 1, 4 factorial. Similarly, 7 factorial is 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And I bet some of you have already memorized that this is 5,040. Seems like it's a big number, but 1 factorial, 2 factorial, 3 factorial, all the way up to 7, we use them so often, we already know what the values are. C, the reason I wrote C is I wanted to make sure if we're ever using parentheses, we understand how to simplify that. So 7 minus 2 factorial, the order of operations says you do parentheses first. So 7 minus 2 is 5. And 5 factorial means 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. And this is another one that we've used often. It's 120. Similarly, 10 minus 7 is 3. So this question is really just asking what 3 factorial is. 3 times 2 times 1, it's 6. E and F, we have factorial expressions and we have division. You could just work out 9 factorial and 7 factorial and then divide the results. But the instructions say simplify any fractions where possible. So this is an example of that. These two numbers are pretty large. And honestly, we probably get to a step in the multiplication where we would want to get out a calculator. But if we approach this a little bit differently and say, well, this is 9 times 8 times 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 divided by 7 times 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. If we actually write it all out, it may seem like a lot of work, but it makes the actual number crunching pretty simple. Because now we have fractions with common factors. The 7s are a common factor, the 6s, the 5s, the 4s, the 3s, the 2s, the 1s. Every common factor has been eliminated. And all we're left with is 9 times 8, which is 72. And you can check your work with a calculator. Just the point of the story is if you have fractions, it actually can help really simplify how many numbers you have to multiply. Because if you have fractions, you're going to have a lot of common factors that you can eliminate. Similarly, for F, we could work out 6 factorial and 3 factorial separately, but this is really 6, 4, 3, 2, 1 over 3, 2, 1. Simplify, simplify, simplify. So this is really just 6 times 5, which is 30, times 4, which is 120. Okay. Like I said, you're not going to have to multiply every single number by hand all the way throughout the quiz, but there are going to be a couple of places where the instructions say kind of write out and simplify by hand. And this is just a couple of ways to do that. And we'll look at the next few, G, H, and I in the next video. So go ahead and click on the next video to finish number 1.